When you look at the top 3 airlines here in China, China Southern, China Eastern and Air China, as well as always being consistently in the top 3 in terms of the number of passengers they carry per year, they also have one very important fact in common. I'm here in Shanghai today in Terminal 2 of Hongqiao Airport because I'm going to take a ride on board one of the airlines that's operated here in China but actually bucks the trend and is different from the top 3, because to this day it still remains entirely privately held and operated. My name's Steph. I'm a pilot with a commercial license and I've been flying planes for almost 20 years now. However, in early 2024, I had a bit of a medical issue and I was told I could no longer fly as pilot in command. For now, at least. So as I'm working towards flying planes myself again, I'm sharing my aviation experiences and adventures here on YouTube to help encourage you to get out and enjoy the world through aviation yourself. So if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe and join our growing community of aviation lovers. And today I'm in Shanghai's Hongqiao Airport, the city's second airport that mainly deals with domestic flights, because today I'm jumping on board a flight with Juneyao Air, an airline that has one big difference compared to many of the other Chinese airlines that you might be familiar with. So why bother then making a video about what is basically a domestic flight between Shanghai and Beijing on a domestic Chinese airline? Why is that relevant to you, my audience, who are primarily not based in China and are mainly in Europe, Australia and the USA? Well, Juneyao Air are actually expanding beyond just domestic operations. In fact, for a while now, they've been operating internationally into Europe, places like Brussels, Helsinki, Athens, Manchester in the UK, but they're also operating more in and out of Australia too. There are going to be between 3 and 4 weekly flights now between Melbourne and China and Sydney and China, operated by Juneyao. And that frequency also increases during periods like Lunar New Year. And so the reason why I think you might be interested in flying with them is kind of twofold. The first one is, fairly or not fairly, sometimes there is a bit of an opinion towards the state-owned Chinese airlines, and some people prefer not to fly with them, even if you do need to fly in and out of China itself. The second reason, though, is they're cheaper. If you look at equivalent routes operated by the other airlines, Juneyao Air tends to be cheaper as well. So it's a more affordable option on a non-state-owned Chinese airline that's going to get you into China using pretty modern Boeing 787 Dreamliners. Seems like quite a good choice. And those modern 787 Dreamliners have something else going for them, which admittedly might be a little bit surface level, but I really love. And that's how they actually look. In Juneyao Air's promotional video they launched a couple of years back, they launched 3 new Chinese-style liveries for their Boeing 787 Dreamliners: Peony, Chinese Red, and Chinese Ribbon. And I think this just reflects the general branding efforts from Juneyao Air to make their aircraft just look beautiful. Ramp presence, of course, doesn't matter when you're inside the aircraft, and those hard and soft surfaces are the things that us customers really care about. But I think it's also important to appreciate and acknowledge the design effort that's been put into how these aircraft actually look from the outside too. Just a quick aside for one moment. Look what I found. Best aircraft in the world, right? What the... How do I get that to take me to the gate? Now that's silver service right there. Look at that. It's like leisure travel, business class right here. I want that one.
Okay. No, you have to, the seat is the 49 to 63. 63, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we have to sit this way, so wait a moment. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So understandably they're boarding by seat numbers. I tried to get to the front of the queue so I could get on board the plane, show you a little bit what it's like when there's less people on board, but because I'm sitting close to the back, I think I'm going to be boarded close to the end. Also, I think they're going to call out the seat numbers in Mandarin, so this is going to be really interesting because I'm in 38K and I have no idea what that is in Mandarin. So I've also been checking the weather for this flight as well, because there was a huge storm that passed through the airport about an hour ago, and I figured it was heading in the direction of where the flight's actually going, and there's a huge band of storms between us here in Shanghai and Beijing. So I think, especially for the first part of this flight, as we're climbing up through it, could be an interesting one. After waiting around at the gate for a little bit longer and not really understanding who was being boarded or in what order, I just decided to walk to the front anyway, and thankfully at that point they let me board the aircraft. So I jumped on board what was actually a pretty hot cabin because the air conditioning wasn't running, even though it was over 30 degrees Celsius outside. But I got settled in, and as we were getting ready to depart, there then followed one of the longest and mushiest welcomes to a flight that I think I've ever heard. And bear in mind, just when you think that this message is about to come to an end, it absolutely isn't.
Juneyao Air, where dreams take flight. May our best wishes accompany you on each and every journey. We strive to fulfill your needs and expectations, and each time you fly with us is a treasured opportunity to communicate with you. We hope this trip will be a pleasant, heartfelt experience for you unlike any other. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. We wish you have a pleasant journey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on board Starlux connecting from flight 1253 from Shanghai Hongqiao to Beijing Daxing.
One thing to note about Juneyao Air is they are adopting a policy that many other Asian airlines are also enforcing, in that they don't allow any personal power bank usage at any time during the flight. This means if you are using personal devices like your iPhone or iPad, you need to make sure they are charged before you get on board, because you can't use your own power bank at any point on board the aircraft. They also don't allow the usage of headphones during takeoff or landing either. Once we'd been given our clearance, the pilot then manoeuvred us onto the runway and absolutely gunned the throttles. I couldn't detect any spool up time whatsoever. It was just full power, away we go. We climbed up and the air conditioning finally kicked in at around 5,000 feet. And as I've seen flying with other Chinese airlines in the past, the seatbelt sign actually stayed on for the entirety of the climb. Only actually came off once we were established up in the cruise. So I sat back and enjoyed the view as we were climbing up through this very scratched window. I mean, what actually causes these scratches? I don't think the aircraft has flown through weather to cause it. Has something rubbed alongside the outside? Has someone tagged the aircraft like they do with buses in Melbourne? Now, unlike anything that we're used to in Australia and in many other parts of the world as well, Juneyao Air, along with many other Chinese airlines, actually have air marshals on board the aircraft at all times. The air marshal on our flight, who obviously I didn't want to film, fairly continuously walked up and down the aisle, monitoring the passengers. He was wearing a body camera, and there are these signs letting passengers know that you are under video surveillance for the entirety of the flight. It's probably worth bearing in mind because it can be a little bit confronting at times, especially if, like me, you're not used to having official security people walking up and down the aircraft during a flight. The crew then gave out a hot food service. There was a chicken or egg noodles choice. I didn't actually want either, but they did have this box of snacks, which I definitely did want. I had the nuts, which were great. I ate these biscuit things, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then one of the highlights of my flight was this incredible juice. It just tasted like it was 30% fruit, 70% sugar, but 100% fun. If I spoke the language, I probably would have asked for some to take home with me. It really was delicious, and I think it takes top spot now, above Finnair's blueberry juice. Thank you, Juneyao Air, for finally opening my eyes up to what all drinks at 34,000 feet should really taste like. Just whilst I'm up there in the air, maybe enjoying that juice a little bit too much, I want to talk to you about the Juneyao Air website itself, because as I said at the beginning of this video, whilst Juneyao Air is different to the state-owned Chinese airlines, it's actually very similar to other Chinese airlines that I've used in the past, in that its website is not easy to use. Now, don't just take my word for it. Skytrax actually described the Juneyao Air website as very poor, and I would probably tend to agree. From a usability perspective, it can be a little bit hard just to navigate the date selection and origin and destination selection to actually find a flight on the days that you want. I pretty much had to go into almost every single day before I could find the combination of flights that I was after. Secondly, you do also need to become a member of their website before you can book with them. You can't just go through the whole process as a guest. And when I was booking, Juneyao Air actually uses the WorldPay booking system as their payment gateway. And that failed on me at the moment I put my credit card details in. I got a message saying site is busy, try again later. But I did see that my credit card had been charged, and yet I had no e-ticket generated from the airline and no confirmation from the website. So I manually had to go and contact Juneyao Air, tell them that my card was charged, ask them if I actually had a ticket on the flight, and to their credit, they did respond straight away and they did send me the e-ticket through. A pre-recorded message about turbulence came on, I counted about 6 times during the 2-hour flight, despite some light chop as we went through those storms, but honestly nothing serious. The seatbelt sign was probably on for about 90% of the flight, which is no big deal to be honest on a 2-hour domestic hop. But if those same standard operating procedures are adopted on international flights with Juneyao, it could get a little bit tiresome not being able to get up and move around the cabin after a while. But before long, it was time for us to descend, and like the takeoff, the pilot absolutely gunned the descent. Didn't feel like there was any throttle back, just pushed the nose down and down we go, safely landing us into Beijing. And if you enjoyed that warm and mushy takeoff message before we departed Shanghai earlier, and if you're wondering if Juneyao Air would do something similar on landing,
We hope that Juneyao will be your airline of choice for your future flights, and we look forward to meeting you again on your future adventures. Whether this is the city you call home, or you're here for the first time, Juneyao Air would like to give each passenger our warmest regards as you embark on this part of the road toward your dreams. Thank you.
the Juneyao fleet comprises now of 10 Boeing 787 Dreamliners, but the delivery of the latest one has actually been put on hold mainly because of the trade tensions that are going on, the tariff war between the US and China. It will be interesting to see where Juneyao Air go in terms of the expansion of their fleet. Are they going to continue purchasing Boeing aircraft, or may they look internally to see if they can grow their fleet with Chinese-made aircraft in the future? It'll also be interesting to see what happens with the number of routes that they are currently operating. Will we continue to see the same number of international destinations served by Juneyao in the future? I'm not sure, time will tell. But should you try them as an airline if they are actually operating a route that you want to fly on? Well, as a low-cost option, but the experience I had was fine and there was no problems with it. So if you can find them at a cheaper price, then yeah, absolutely, why not give them a go? And you may also like to support a privately owned company rather than flying with one which has the backing of the state. But do me one favour, if you are planning to fly Juneyao in the future, please promise me you will try that juice that they have on board. I don't know what was in it. I probably don't want to know what was in it, but it still to this day remains the favourite juice-based drink that I've ever had on board an aircraft. So good. I dream about it. I miss it.